Hey y'all, this is rewardadrawer, and this is Spin Rhythm XD, and this is going to be this is my showcase submission for fast-paced events, or fast-paced for Pride. For this submission, instead of doing a single submission that is dedicated to like an entire showcase, what I'd like to do is something called a showcase sampler. So for the showcase sampler, I'm going to play 3 tracks from the base set list, plus the bonus track or the intended bonus track for 3 different showcases. And this sampler should run about the length of the expected showcase as well. This is a showcase that can run at a time of 45 minutes or an hour, depending on the desired length. It could also run a little shorter or a little longer, depending on the goals of the showcase runners, of the marathon runners. Since all of the songs have a runtime of between 3 and roughly 5 minutes, roughly 3 to 5 minutes, the showcase is totally variable based on the number of songs that are desired to be played. First things first, this game has, as of 1.0, a lot of customization options. So some of these customization options can be chosen as donation incentives. For example, you could have a poll to determine inaccessibility. We have the different wheel colors. I have mine set to orange and blue. And then I have my spin set to green and purple, which is the default. My beat color is set to white. The default normally is green. My scratch is the same color, roughly the same color of orange as my wheel. And then highlights are yellow. But for example, a non-binary color scheme, or a color scheme representing the non-binary flag of yellow and purple, would be a high quality choice because it offers contrasting colors, and also could be a cool donation incentive for a poll to decide wheel color. You could also do like the bike pride colors. You could do a rainbow flag with a little bit of intention. You could also do trans pride colors. It's totally RGB customizable. So you can choose both the color as well as the saturation and the lightness. So like, for example, if you change the lightness with totally dark or totally light colors, I think I had 56 as my default. I'm going to set it back to that. In addition to that, there are a number of skins and wheel skins and track skins that you could choose. For example, you could have like a guitar. You could also have an Oni mask. I usually set mine to default, just because I like the default. And then there's also a number of track skins. I really do like the grid as well as neon plant. But again, my tendency is for default. But these are things that can be used as donation incentives, or rather donation polls. Like choosing the loadout of the game that's to be played. Another thing to talk about for this game is that I am going to be using a turntable to play the game. This game does have MIDI controller and USB controller accessibility. It also is fully playable on keyboard and mouse. That is the default playstyle. And there are also a number of people that play on controller as well. So the game has a number of different ways to play. My preferred style of play is what's called freewheel keyboard and mouse. But I'm going to be showcasing the turntable for the purpose of this showcase. All right, so there are going to be 3 different showcase samples in this submission. The first is the remixed showcase. We'll talk about each one separately, and then we'll sort of jump into them in order. So the remixed showcase is a showcase of base game tracks. So these are tracks that are included with the game, with no customization or anything at all. Remixed is now in its year 3 of a charting competition where a song from base game is chosen, and then a number of community charters submit charts for review as a contest. And then the winning chart for each song is chosen to be introduced as a special difficulty called Remixed. Remixed songs are unlockable by completing the XD difficulty of the song once. And I think that might change to like you have to get an A rank on the XD difficulty version of the song, but we're gonna just be we have them all unlocked anyway. I've completed the game. And so we're gonna show 3 songs that feature different charters, and we're going to also have a bonus track, which is my winning remixed submission. The advantage of remixed is that all of these songs are base game, so if any song is safe to play in base game, then also the remix chart is equally safe to play in base game. And that's true for like basically all of them. There are 1 or 2 songs that have licensing issues. I will not be choosing those songs for a full remix showcase. The second showcase that I have is a Sonic Mania showcase. There is a charter named Loosiano who charted the entire Sonic Mania OST. And with his showcase, he also collaborated with a number of different charters, such as Jane and a Chocolate Orange and Crooky Cumbles. And I'm going to be showing the OST, but for this sample, I'm going to show 3 different collaborations with different charters. And then as a bonus, unlockable option, maybe a stretch goal, I will have Hydro City Zone, a remix, which is one of 2 Sonic Mania remix. There's an album of remixes by like VGR and a bunch of different artists that I charted 2 songs in, and this is going to be a collaboration between myself and Aaron Eternal. And then the last showcase sample is a showcase sample of LGBT. Oh, sorry. One thing about the Sonic Mania is that because it is an OST, there is one of the advantages of it is that it is it's video game music, and so as long as the video game music is stream safe, it is going to be safe to play it in this capacity as well. In addition to that, there's a lot of cohesion in this OST because it was organized by 1 charter. However, a potential drawback of that is that there is a little less charter diversity. I won't be able to feature a different charter for each song. So this is basically a feature of Sonic Mania OST, not necessarily the broader charting community. But I happen to know that a lot of the people in charge with the outfit in fast-paced events are Sonic speedrunners, so I figured this might be a fan favorite as well. Okay, the last showcase sample that I have is LGBTQIA Artists. And for this, there are a number of different artists that are queer that have been charted, often with passion, by a lot of the charting community, which also is very heavily queer. I mean, it's kind of a common meme in a lot of rhythm gaming communities that a lot of the rhythm gamers, but especially the creatives behind customs in rhythm games, are very queer. It's a very queer community. And so there are a lot of different songs that have been charted by queer artists, and the showcase would feature, I could pull a dozen of them easily. But for this one, I chose 3 songs as a sample that involve either queer resilience or queer celebration as an underlying theme for those songs. And then as a bonus, I have a song that I charted that is also by a queer artist that is unrelated to that theme of resilience. It just happens to be like one of the first like queer charts, basically, or queer artist charts, and it's just unrelated. One of the drawbacks, one of the benefits of this is that this is fast-paced for Pride. This is a very Pride-themed showcase that would be happening. The potential drawback of it is that this is the showcase I could guarantee would be the most risky as far as stream safety. So this is the one that is most likely to get muted, which is just an unfortunate consequence of having so many different artists that aren't necessarily licensed to the game. and also that come from varying backgrounds. And so it would be very difficult to get advanced permission from all of these artists, and it would also be very difficult to guarantee that they are generally stream safe. Without further ado, let's start with the remix showcase. So for the first chart, I'm going to feature Prism Bucket by Mr. Kapow and Martin. And this one is charted by Crooky. Make sure everything.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
So the way that the base game's mechanics work might need to recalibrate for the wheel. I'll just adjust my play. I'll play a little early. So the way that this works is that the right jog wheel is my spin, and it's also my tap. You can see these colored notes coming down the wheel. The small ones are called match notes. And the match notes, you only have to color match, so the wheel has to line up. The larger notes, and the ones with the tails on them, are called taps and holds. So with the taps, you have to tap them at the right time. With the holds, you have to tap and then hold. And the left jog wheel does both of those. These white notes and the white notes with tails are called beat notes. And the right jog wheel does those. And then you have these spins, and so the movement is based on the right jog wheel. Does most of the work for this game. And then this is a very movement-based game. It's not like a lane-based rhythm game, like you expect from a lot of like Bimani-style games, like hero-type games. It is lane-based, but you operate the wheel by moving it instead of. So there's a lot of movement that happens as far as like lining up for the next tap and everything like that, as well as timing. So this is a fairly standard chart. It's a relatively easy one. And it makes it very easy to sort of show off as like an introduction to Remixed. So the base game version of the song is like roughly difficulty 23. It's an easier song. This Remixed is 30 difficulty. We'll talk about the difficulty ratings later, because they're not set in stone. They are very subjective. And we generally agree that some songs are overrated and underrated. But this is generally just a slightly harder version of the same song. And is it's a pretty standard and pretty safe chart. So unfortunately, I did actually very good on timing, but I may need to adjust my calibration for. I need to adjust my calibration for this particular device. My calibration is set pretty well for keyboard and mouse, but I didn't change my calibration to suit this device. So we'll just do that right now. We're going to give it an input offset of 50 milliseconds and see what that does. Alright, next we'll try Platform 9. Now this is charted by haomakk. So haomakk is a charter that tends to have a lot of interesting movement as far as There we go. That's a lot better. A lot of beat heavy, as well as movement heavy sliders. So I'll talk about some of the different tech that we can expect from this. So note composition is going to look a little different. We're going to see a lot more taps, a lot more beat holds. We'll also see a lot more. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I'm going to retry.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1.
We'll also see a lot more what's called wide lane movement. So the base game tends to stick to the middle 5 lanes. But the wheel actually has 9 lanes on it. And so you can see we're moving into lanes, we assign the lanes 1 through 5, the middle 5. We're moving into lane 0 and lane 6, which are the wider lanes just outside of the middle 5. And the wheel paddles are 4 lanes wide, so there's a little bit of tech that comes to wide movement. Basically, you need to make sure that when you color swap, the difference between the old end of the hold and the new tap needs to be about 4 lanes. Which, when you're only using the middle 5 lanes, that's the default expectation. But when Charter started using wide lanes, we started seeing a lot different lane assignments. We also see a lot of like wide angled sliders that bounce back. But also there are a couple different types of like beat holds. You see some of these notes have arrows at the end. Those are releases. There are releases both for the standard holds as well as for beat holds, and they're basically an extra timing element. The base game tended to have a lot of release-based notes. They're relatively uncommon in custom charts. So where we see compositions of charts involving more holds and more spins and more beats, the actual like release elements of those are relatively uncommon in custom charts. Instead, we tend to see a lot more movement-based patterns as opposed to timing-based patterns in a lot of these charts. I like to call like health build section. Basically, it's a little less difficult, and so if you have a difficulty with the song, it's a lot easier to sort of return to normalcy here. Oh gosh. Struggling a little bit with this one. That struggle is mostly because this is not my preferred style of play. So I'm readjusting basically. That was actually a pretty difficult run. So fortunately, the game is pretty permissive as far as health goes. It's relatively hard to fail, and they also recently included a no-fail mode, so that is an option as well. I'm going to do one last calibration because I'm going to try it at 100. And I'm also going to mute clicks. Wait, that's muting clicks for that. I don't care about that. Okay, we'll try the last remix chart. This is Razor Sharp, and this will allow us to talk about a little bit of other tech that is common in the custom community, but is a little less common in
Get ready.
a little less common, like actually non-existent. Basically. And this is charted by Programmatic. Programmatic and Crooky are actually like two of the most winning remixed charters. They each have, I think, 6, and they're tied with Dama in that respect. Dama has basically we call hotels on, I think, 2 different artists. Basically, she won every remix of 2 different artists. I think. It definitely has the Douglas Holmquist Hotel. And Crooky has the Sharks Hotel. I don't think Prague has any hotels. And then the last hotel owner is Trexer, who owns Maxo. So this is... actually a pretty standard drop. So the tendency of holds in base game is that we tend to see what's called a sine wave pattern in a lot of holds. And you tend to see very simple movement. You can see a lot of these holds have complex movement. You might be asked to make like 4 or 5 distinct movements in a single hold. That's another one of like the main differences, is something we like to call aesthetic holds in the custom community, or aesthetic sliders. Aesthetic sliders tend to have basically a lot of extra movement, or sometimes even we subdivide a measure in this game into ticks. So an eighth beat, an eighth note, is 4 ticks. Usually, most rhythm elements in this game are no fewer than 2 ticks apart. About a year into custom charting, charters noticed that they could basically play with sliders and create these mostly aesthetic patterns, like this little wiggle at the end of this hold, that don't actually have gameplay implications, but they look aesthetically pleasing, and they do that by using what's called a micro tick. So the smallest unit in the game for its like rhythmic components is normally the tick. 32 ticks make up a 4/4 measure. But you can actually do what's called F-shifting in the charter. And if you F-shift, you subdivide that tick by 8. And that allows you to get these very, very precise and fine movements on sliders. And sometimes with match notes as well. And so, like, the actual way that you hit that middle slider that vibrates with increasing intensity is actually not to move at all, which is kind of counterintuitive. But it's a pretty fun way to sort of swing at these. Alright, we can see as I'm calibrating, my score is getting better in real time. So when I actually do this, I'm going to properly calibrate before I start. I have to calibrate separately for audio and for controller input. But it's fine. I'm not playing for score right now. I'm basically just playing to showcase the different songs. With some of these, I have scores of like 99% on keyboard and mouse, or 99.7 or 8%. But this isn't a score run. This is just me showing off the different tracks. Alright, so this would be the bonus track. This is a track that I designed. This is Spin Cycle. So one of the main benefits of showing off Spin Cycle is that Daverwob is actually the main developer of this game. He's the lead designer and one of the main developers. And so it's cool to just show. And this is also one of the first songs in the game. It's just kind of cool to show off kind of where this game came from. Just spin there. Got the lick as well. And this is a nice short track. It's only 2 minutes long. So my preference for charting style is focus very heavily on rhythmic elements. So there's a lot of like top beat offsets in my charts, and it's less movement heavy. Just my personal preference. And sometimes when you get these collaborations, which we're going to talk about later, it's kind of nice to see a confluence of styles. Where, like, two people with very different styles come together to chart a song together. And their sections end up being very different. And sometimes you get a lack of cohesion because of that. But usually it ends up looking very fun, feeling very fun as well. Spin cycle. And that's not going to be very good. That's okay. So one other thing I'm going to change really quickly. I might as well just I'm going to do another quick, just sort of calibration. We're going to bump it up 50 more. We're going to see what this does for me. I'm either going in the right direction or the wrong direction. We'll find out. I'm very late. So maybe we need to input offset in the other direction. We'll do -50. Calibration is not my strong suit. Normally I don't like to do this in real time. But there's also 2 different menu backgrounds. So we're going to change to the funky background for the rest of the... I think the funky background is a kind of good, like, end of... Like, chill background is good for menu, but funky background is good for between songs. So next we're going to showcase the Sonic Mania OST. For this I need to open up the customs. And we're going to type in Sonic Mania. Alright, so first we're going to play Steel Cortex, which is one of the easier tracks. And this is a collaboration between Loosiano and Jane. And basically all of these have Loosiano as one of the chart credits and T. Lopes as the artist credit. Hold on one sec. I think I've got the calibration right. We're just gonna give that a quick and dirty retry. So one of the drawbacks of playing this game is that if you miss a line, it's very easy to compound your misses. And when you compound your misses, if you have clear note on miss like I do, for accessibility reasons, it can be very hard to like figure out where you're going, and you also lose a section of the track. If you don't have clear note on miss, it's very easy to compound your misses and then just fail. Still late, which tells me maybe I need to do audio calibration. I seem to be doing actually better on timing. Judge, very known for these kind of very fast, like match string style of play, or Jane, sorry, known for this heavy match string style of play. Also, Jane is one of the people that introduced wide. Some of Jane's charts were one of the some of the very first ones to implement wide in a useful and pleasing fashion. Some people had done wide assignments, but they weren't very good, and so it kind of got shelved for a long time. And then, like early 2021, a lot of Jane's charts had these sort of wide sliders and showed people how to do it right. Song is very foreboding. Wow, that was me tapping really early.
Complete. Brilliant.
That was actually much better. I'm gonna try and do something funny. And even though the calibration is going better, I'm going to change it by another 50 points and just see what happens. We're just playing Funhouse with the calibration at this point. Alright. Next on the list is Chemical Plant Zone Act 1. This is a... Chemical Plant Zone in general is just a fan favorite, I think. But it's also a community favorite. Chemical Plant Zone has been started no fewer than 3 times. Different iterations of it. The chart has a lot of very fast consecutive inputs, which does make it actually very difficult to time. I am nearly failing. Might fail. Oh, I failed. Okay, we'll try that one more time. I think, actually, I over-calibrated a little bit, so I'm going to change the calibration. We're going to change it to, like, 75. And we will replay this.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
The one thing that is also very common in competitive play, as well as showcase of this game, is commentators. Sometimes you just have to clutch up, and like it's a lot harder to speak while playing. Oh god. Yeah, so it's a lot harder to play this game and talk at the same time. Sometimes your concentration gets split, and I'm not going to say I'm proud of that run, nor the fact that I had to play twice to beat it, but we're just kind of showcasing the tracks anyway. And also I'm playing with Funhouse calibration, so yeah, that's okay. Alright, this last one is a very fun track. This is a collaboration between Loosiano and a Chocolate Orange. And this is Lights, Camera, Action! This is actually one of my favorite tracks from Sonic Mania.
Ready? 2, 1, go!
Very fun and bouncy track.
Lights, camera, action.
I want to talk about this when the highway is clearing. So that is a default function, but it is something that can be disabled. It's called Clear Note on Miss. And I keep it on because I have some visual processing issues that make it a little bit harder for me to play the game when, for example, backgrounds are active. But I intend to have backgrounds active for this showcase because the backgrounds are very fun. They're just very difficult for me to play with because they're distracting for me. They're a distracting element. So, clear note on miss basically disables the highway for about 2 seconds. And unfortunately, it's very sensitive, so if you then miss the next note, it re-disables the highway. To clutch up, I'm almost dead. Oh my god. I think I was actually like a sliver of health from dying. One of the drawbacks of clear note on miss is that it can be very hard to tell where you're at when the wheel disables, and because a lot of the way that charting works is that charts flow together from one element to the next very evenly and cleanly. And so clear note on miss does disable the chart for like 2 seconds. It disables the highway for like 2 seconds, but that causes a disconnection. And this clear note on miss is also very sensitive. It's not that sensitive on the first miss, but it's hypersensitive on the second and third misses. And so it's very easy for you to miss a small section, try to come back, miss like one note coming back, and then have it disabled a second time. And then like it just becomes this extended clear, and it can be very frustrating. Clear note on miss is still kind of being calibrated even at this point. Alright, and so the last chart of this that I would like to show is the Hydra City Zone No Can't remix. I have 2 versions of it because I have the master as well as the thing, but this is the same chart. And this is charted by myself and Aaron Eternal as a collaboration.
2, 1, go!
And this is not in the base game. This was included in a set of remixes of Sonic Mania songs, which is also basically a set of remixes of Sonic tracks, mostly 2D Sonic tracks. And the other one of these that has been charted is Green Hill Zone. Oh my god. Oh, this is an old chart. I think the old version of the chart. Hold on one sec. We'll play the other version of the chart because that had a movement that does not typically exist anymore. We'll try the other version of the chart.
Ready?
I think it might be a little bit cleaner.
Go!
If it isn't, then this chart is going to see an update before it is featured. You can see it disabled again after 1 miss. Oh, it exists in both versions. Okay, well that's gonna be fixed then. It's a tendency not to have a color swap after a hold like that, because it doesn't telegraph itself very well. You know, I had 2 bonus tracks, and I'm a little out of touch with this one. So I'm gonna show the other one. And if I might clean up Hydro City Zone before it gets played in that capacity.
Get ready. 2, 1, go!
But we'll try this one for now. Oh, I didn't hit the spin right. Oh, shoot. And there we go. One of the things that I unfortunately am kind of like unfocused. One of the things that makes that chart interesting is kind of the rhythmic element of it. There's a lot of I'll talk about it for a moment, just in post song screen. So there are basically 2 elements to every. This is gonna sound like the Mario 64 half press meme. But there really are 2 different types of press for every note type. There's press, where you push down on the note, you know, tap, beat, and everything like that. And then there's release. And release is the other half of the press, basically. And so for this song, one of the interesting rhythmic elements of the song that's very common in the beats, in the drops, is that it has a lot of complex note-like interactions where you have beat release into compound releases, compound taps, and also staggered taps and releases, and so that's one of the interesting rhythmic components of that song adds a little bit of difficulty to it. It's also a bit of an older track. It was released before soft beat hold releases, or soft beat holds, which were beat holds without releases. So all of these beat holds have releases by necessity, but it was a common thing at the time to sort of like stagger the releases in interesting ways. And it's done a little less so now because it's fallen out of style. All right. So the last thing, or the last showcase sample, is the LGBTQ Artists. So the first that I have is Confronting Myself by Pig and Programmatic. These are two members of the Celeste community, very prolific members, also high-level speedrunners within the Celeste community. And they charted a lot of Lena Raine early on in the game's life, because Lena Raine actually does have a base game track. Beyond the Heart was remixed for this game, and it's in the Spin Rhythm OST. And that's the farewell track, for reference. But this is Confronting Myself. This is a collaboration between Programmatic and Pig.
Go!
This is a bit of an older track, so we'll probably see some older track conventions as well. But it's a very good track. And it also deals with the theme of confronting yourself. Conflicting notions of identity, who we are, the internal conflicts that we often have, dealing with the part of me that I might not understand. You can see these interesting slider shapes. A lot of complex movement in the sliders, already taking hold even early in the custom community's life. This lead, like this hook right here, is actually like the hook that I know. Like if you asked me to like hum a tune from Celeste, it's this. Those very short scratches kind of fell out of favor with the custom community as well. As scratches in general have fallen out of favor with the custom community, they just don't like that note type. I still love it. It's a personal preference, but I really love scratch notes. They're actually really fun to play on Turntable. So are spins, because you can just flick. So one thing to note, as far as mechanics of this game go, I haven't talked a whole lot about mechanics, aside from the note types, is spins have something called auto-aim, which is to say, after a spin, it will auto-aim to the next tap note. Oh god. I failed in the outro. I'm going to just accept that failure right now, because I don't feel like taking the so-called time loss of replaying the entire song over and over again. I haven't been able to play this game really for the last couple months because of health reasons. I just started feeling good enough to even create a showcase sampler, my submission, a couple days ago. And actually, I'm not 100% yet. So I will just ask for a little bit of grace for quality of play. Know the quality of play will be a little better as I get a little bit more of an opportunity to practice and shake off rust before the actual showcase. Thankfully, this is also the hardest song that I'm showcasing of the LGBTQ. So this is a song called Girls Like Girls, and it's by Haley Kiyoko. And the reason that I'm including this one is because this is a chart by Enynine.
Are you ready?
And Enynine, they last year took on the very difficult task of compiling most of the queer artists, queer charts, or queer artist charts, to make basically a mega collection. And they also did the Pride Month Showcase last year, and they're doing another Pride Month Showcase this year. By the time this shortly after this submission is reviewed, we'll start to see a lot more artists, charts by queer artists, just for the purpose of, because there's going to be an entire month celebrating queer artists. And it's another showcase set up by Enynine. So they, have kind of taken on a position of queer leadership in a very queer charting community. Girls Like Girls. It's more a celebration of queer joy, you know, queer love, rather than queer conflict. A bit more of a bouncy tune. Girls like boys do. Nothing new. Well, I just wasn't paying attention. That was a beat with a spin. I hit the beat but not the spin. So I have a set list for this showcase. If the queer artists showcase decides to be utilized, but some of the names on that track might change as the some of the names might change, the tracks might change as the Pride Month Showcase. Gives me a lot of new charts to look through. That's... honestly, I think that's pretty cool. But this song is a celebration of queer love. done by the artist, done by the charter, who coordinated the Pride Month showcase, so I figured I might as well incorporate it as well. Alright, and the last song is called I Don't Need to Be Fixed, and it is by Gabby Guy, or sorry, it's the artist is Violet Pony. Gabby Guy is a prolific charter of Violet Pony tracks, and
Get ready.
this one is also celebrating queer resilience. I don't need to be fixed. There's nothing wrong with being queer. In fact, it's something to be proud of. Gabby Guy likes to use a lot of interesting lane assignments for some of these match notes.
Why are you so protective of the way that I am? I can do this by myself, don't you understand? I don't need
And this song is actually not just about being queer, but according to Gabby, with Gabby's notes in the song submission, is this song is also about queer neurodivergence, which, as a person who has been diagnosed with autism and ADHD, and also deals with a lot of mental health issues, which I've been a part of past events for Headspace, specifically. Neurodivergent rights, disability rights, and also mental health issues are very important to me as well. And queer issues and mental health issues and neurodivergent issues are very closely intertwined. I feel like there's a what's basically a very high concordance rate between queer identity and neurodivergence. And I feel like it's one of those things where, like, once you're willing to, reject normativity on one axis in society, it's very easy to sort of be introspective about that rejection of the norm. And think about other ways that we can diverge from the norm. And in none of these ways do we need to be fixed. Whoops. That is an unusual lane assignment, by the way, as far as I was talking about. It's very unusual to see same lane swaps happening so many times successively, because they're very ambiguous about which direction do you swap. Get the breakbeat section. This is actually a relatively long song as well. And that might make it a little less of an ideal candidate for showcase. As it so happens, though, I really like this one because it does celebrate the intersection of queerness, queer identity, and neurodivergent. I also did hear the F word once or twice, though. So, depending on whether or not swearing is allowed or permitted or encouraged, this song might not make the cut. That was I Don't Need to Be Fixed by Violet Pony.
Complete. Brilliant.
And that was charted by Gabby Guy. Now the last chart that I'm going to feature is the potential bonus track. So again, I mentioned the bonus tracks. They can be sort of like considered like incentive stretch goals, or they couldn't be incorporated as part of the base set list if we decide that stretch goals for Spin Rhythm XD are not desired. And they don't. Oh, this is Focus. I'm sorry, wrong track. And they don't necessarily need to be my tracks either. I just kind of included them as mine because I figured that was an interesting way to sort of like purposefully exclude myself from the base set lists. But not exclude myself entirely. Because it feels like kind of like tooting your own horn. It feels kind of like tooting your own horn to include yourself in the set list. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to include other, like basically feature other charters. But I do want to feature myself as well. I do get to gas myself up. I figured a bonus song would be the easiest way to do that. And Chipsel, actually one of my favorite artists in all the electronic genres. I've charted a handful of Chipsel tunes. And this one was like one of the very first charts that I ever did back in 2020. So this chart is almost as old as custom tracks themselves. Unfortunately, it does show its age in a couple ways as well. This section is one that I would not chart this way anymore. Mostly because these matches don't lead into the next tab. And this is a chart that I did when I was very new, and I got a lot of help from Programmatic in actually making this chart a lot more playable. The first versions of this chart were very rough. So I want to just give a special shout out to Programmatic while I'm playing this track, who also charted one of the songs that I wanted to chart from Chipsel, Spectra, which I intend to feature in this showcase as well, if given the opportunity.
Complete.
So that is the LGBTQIA Artist feature in a nutshell. I'm going to switch back to chill music while I wrap up. So these are 3 possible showcases that I could do. There was a 4th one that I wanted to make a preview for as well, and that is basically a walkthrough of the history of competitive play with all of the major tournaments that we've done over the last 3 years. we're approaching the third. Actually, we're just passing right now as I record this, the third anniversary of the first tournament. We are not doing a tournament on this anniversary, mostly because we've adjusted the tournament schedule to be more accommodating to like the school schedule, because we do have some players like in tournaments that are either like educators or students, and so they're kind of more aligned with like summer break, winter break, spring break, and fall break now. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to really settle on a good sample playlist for that. And also, I think that that is kind of the least connected to this type of event. I really did want to do like a Pride showcase or a showcase that features like a broader community. And while it is really easy to get like a broader community involvement in that type of showcase for fast-paced events, it's also, there were just too many drawbacks. Some of the oldest charts they show their age really well, or really poorly rather. And I figured it would probably be a little bit too much to incorporate like a history of tournament play, and not enough like upsides. It's not tailored really to this type of event. So I hope you all enjoyed. I'm sorry for, again, the poor play. This is my first time playing Turntable in months. Have had some health issues that have made it basically impossible for me to play for the last 2 months, and I'm just now recovered to about 85%. But in addition to not being fully recovered, I'm rusty. But the deadline is tomorrow, so I figured I'd get something recorded. Apologize, bow my head, beg for forgiveness for the poor quality of play, and improve my play in the months leading up to the actual showcase. Thank you all very much, and I hope you have a wonderful review and the rest of your day, and I hope you stay rad.